Stan Gibelisco here from the Nerd Cave. The date is the 27th of March, 2014. And I just got done, a couple hours ago actually, when I went down to Walmart in Spearfish, South Dakota. Got a chance to get out in the open and test the two antennas that I have against each other very briefly on the 21 megahertz band. My call sign, by the way, W1GV, Whiskey 1, good vibrations. You'll find me primarily operating CW, occasionally PSK, but almost entirely CW on the 20, 17, 15, 12, and 10 meter amateur bands, and 6 meters also if it ever opens up. But what I did was I got a chance to compare these antennas very briefly on the 15 meter CW band, right around 21.009 megahertz. First, I called him on the active tuning antenna system, which is this thing that you see on the left, the whip antenna, mechanically tuned by means of a microprocessor in the radio, the FT857D, ensuring a pretty nearly perfect one-to-one match all along the 10 feet of coaxial cable between the radio and the antenna. Well, I called this station. He was sending CQ, and his prefix sounded like VV4, Victor Victor 4, but he was sending at about like 45 words a minute. And when you have characters like V and 4 and U, particularly V and 4, and you mix them up and you send them at 45 words a minute, and there's fading on the signal, it's very, very difficult to know exactly what the heck his prefix really was. Was it 4 Victor 4? I doubt it was Victor 44, but it could have been. I know it wasn't 444, and I know it wasn't Victor Victor Victor. But it was something. It was some kind of DX, maybe in Canada, maybe in Europe, maybe in South America. It had to be one of those three. It had to be in the sunlit side of the Earth, almost certainly, because the frequency 21 megahertz, or 21.009, not 12.009, Stanley. 21.009 megahertz. That frequency and that wavelength tend to be mostly daylight propagation. Well, it's optimized for daylight, let's put it like that. That's just the way nature made it. So I called him first on this radio, and he gave me a 579 QSB signal report. 579 QSB. For those of you who don't know, well, you're probably not gotten to this point if you don't know what that means. Fading. 579. That's probably an inflated signal report. What he probably meant was more like 349. Difficulty reading you weak signals rather than perfectly readable and moderately strong signals. Obviously not. I would have given him about the same signal report. Well, I would have given him about a 459, and a 4 only because of the way he was sending so bloody fast with those confusing call letters. I mean, I can copy about 40 words a minute in my head if it's plain text, and if it's, but when you start mixing up characters like that, not so much anymore. But that's the report that he gave me. Then I switched over to my antenna system, which is the radio right here, tuned at the transmitter end of the line through a PALSTAR AT500 transmatch. Beautiful little transmatch. 13 feet of the same type of coax, RG58U, as this 10 feet over here. But here, the whip antenna is 8 feet long rather than just 5 feet, so we get a little bit better radiation from the antenna itself. I wasn't on 28 megahertz, I was on 21 megahertz, so we'll delete that. 13 feet of coax with a high SWR on it. Here the SWR would be a perfect match 1-to-1. Here it would be high. Well, when I heard him just about the same on this contraption as I did on this contraption. So after he said 579 QSP, please come again. And so I came again on this antenna and I said, how now? And he gave me the same signal report all over again. 579 QSB. So I surmised then that these antennas were in a virtual tie. A virtual tie. As opposed to a real tie, a virtual tie is, well, you know, like virtual reality. You know, well, I'm just being sarcastic. I'm being stupid. But these antennas appear on the 21 megahertz or the 15 meter band. You know, when you enter 15 meter band or something like that as a tag in a YouTube video, you get really interesting stuff. You know, it's like, that's a rock and roll band. The 15 meter band. Well, enough yammering and rambling from me. The idea here is to let you know that I tested these two antennas, which you will have seen if you go to the playlist, A Tale of Two Antennas. That's the title of the playlist. Look at them all. If you are into ham radio and particularly into antennas. These two appear to tie on this particular occasion on 15 meters. Stan Gibilisco, W1GV Whiskey 1, good vibrations. Signing off, 73, so long.